Welcome to this very special edition of the Lucha Lounge. I'm your host, Steve DeMarco. Oh, it is Valentine's Day, so I hope you're enjoying your Valentine's Day, as this is airing, or you got to enjoy it if you're listening to this on Monday. I tried my very best to enjoy it, but Sunday fun day. Hopefully you enjoyed your week and all of that. This is not going to be the norm. Where I just review a bunch of stuff. I'm going to review some stuff before I get into the main topic. What a week it was. The announcement and all the aftershock of that. I think a lot are still coming to grips with it. And obviously it's the focal point of my video. But before we get really into that, let's talk a couple of things. First and foremost, my prayers go to Jason Solomon of Solid Monster Sounds Off. Really enjoy his podcast. He's got a form of blood cancer that he's currently dealing with, and my prayers go out to him and his family. I know he's been dealing with quite a few things. So again, my prayers out to him. My thoughts are with him. I hope for a recovery. Good news on the Bret the Hitman Hart front. He had apparently successful surgery, or came out of surgery successfully. So that's always a good thing. Glad to hear about that. Also this week, 13 years ago, the wrestling world became a little less perfect when Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, passed away. Big fan of his, growing up, the perfect stuff, the vignettes. He could do no wrong on any athletic field. I always enjoyed his work and became more of a fan probably once I got into the business, but really a big fan of his. Couple of other things. Oh, speaking of podcasts, Ric Flair, he had Jay Lethal on as a guest for the Woo Nation podcast. Really enjoyed listening to that one. Great Ross Report podcast with Sean Waltman. Always a wealth of knowledge. Good to hear from him. I enjoy his stance on things. Also, a good Pro Wrestling Fringe by Colt Cabana that will be on the Howl Network. He actually was about the story of Tom McGee. A potential can't-miss prospect who missed, actually, and he talked a little bit about that. I really liked the layout format of that one. I think that's going to be a new venture for him, kind of a produced story type of situation, similar to maybe like Serial or similar to one of those. But I enjoyed it. I hope for a speedy recovery for CM Punk. He's having back surgery and, couldn't come at a worse time. They had announced who his opponent was going to be for his debut, and then all of a sudden he has back surgery. Not all of a sudden, I'm sure they had to schedule it. I'm sure he was aware of it. Hopefully he was aware of it, or at least the problems that he was having. But yeah, still kind of a tough break. I wish that he has a speedy recovery, and maybe he'll still have time to make his debut by the end of 2016, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, depending on how the severity of the surgery and what they had to deal with. Little last bit of news. Now I heard some rumors about Blackjack Mulligan potentially passing, but there's been no confirmation as of today when I'm filming this or recording this, so apparently he's still dealing, still in poor health, but the hope is that he can come out of it here in the in the near future. But my prayers and thoughts go to him and his family. And one last bit of news, which really was another big news item, was Titus O'Neil getting suspended initially for 90 days, and then it was reduced to 60, and there's been news that's come out since. Apparently, there's a video out there where at the post end of the exclusive network stuff, As Vince was going to leave, Titus grabbed him kind of playfully, I think to give Stephanie the right of way, or to let Stephanie go in front of him, and Vince, I think, shoved him, and then he was told that Titus was told that he was suspended 90 days, and then went down to 60. He's only put out one tweet, I believe. I don't think he's bashed the company since. You can take it. You've heard rumors since then. A lot of people are playing around backstage and whatnot, and not being very professional, or not being very professional in front of the camera. Who knows? And Vince utilized Titus, a guy who's held in high esteem. As far as from what you could tell, the company holds him in high esteem as a face of that company and whatnot. That for him to get suspended sends a message to everyone else that you need to be professional. And being a guy that works on a television product, we do harp on the idea of being professional in front of the camera anytime the camera's on. You're representing the company. You never want to take away or diminish the impact of what those cameras do, and how the company's represented, and how you being a member of that company are represented, and that the fact that you are representing the company. So I can understand the idea of suspending someone for being for unprofessional conduct. At the same time, the timing's very bad. Black History Month, you suspend a African American performer, and I don't know. On the one hand, I can understand where the company's coming from, and it is Vince's company, so he's free to do what he needs to do. Feels like that's going to send the proper message. At the same time, you hope that it gets suspended. That you hope that the suspension gets reduced maybe to 30 days. I mean, realistically, I don't know. Tough. Hopefully this works to Titus's benefit. At the end, come back and recharge. Hopefully there's no after effects of this, and they allow him to continue his push. Hopefully, but we shall see. Well, I'll be on the lookout for that. Now, real quickly, couple of things. Reality Wrestling's next television taping, coming off a pretty successful television taping last weekend. The next television taping is actually February 27th. Will take place at the World Gym Arena. I believe that's what they're calling it. But go to realitywrestling.com for more details. You'll get more details about that. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty stacked card. From what I hear, it's going to be another round of tapings. Full set of tapings. So yeah. And don't forget, March 9th, I believe that's a Wednesday. Reality Wrestling or Booker T is going to be broadcasting the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, with actually Jake the Snake and DDP in attendance for that airing. So it should be a great time. And if you're, again, go to realitywrestling.com for more details. Let's see. The last airing that I saw was from January 31st. And I will say I will miss Andrew and Eric Lockhart, but got to see a great debut from Tyree and Shane Taylor. I enjoyed their post-match promo. I enjoyed Mysterio Q promo, Rex Andrews promo, Cameron Cole's promo, Brian Keith's promo, Pride's promo. I really enjoyed Gustavo's speeches, any of his stuff. I enjoyed the highlight package for Marcellus Black. And I was really impressed by the four-way ladder match between Pride, Rex, Reigns, and Brendan Sky. Rex has been really scary and awesomely good since returning. And Rex got the win on that. But really hellacious four-way ladder match. Kudos to those guys. And finally, the main focus. Now, I will say this. Brandon Stroud with uprocks.com wrote a really good piece about those. He usually reviews Raw. I think he reviews Lucha Underground. He reviews quite a few of them, SmackDown, a few others. I think maybe Impact. Don't quote me on that. But he does some good write-ups, and I really enjoyed his write-up about Daniel Bryan's retirement announcement. So if you haven't had a chance, check it out. I think I shared it on my Facebook page. I thought it was really well done. So, Daniel Bryan announces his retirement. Now, as you can see, one of the few bits of merchandise that I get from WWE, but yeah, respect the beard. I remember seeing Daniel or Bryan when he was with TWA and he was the American Dragon. I think the first time I saw him and I was really taken by him and Spanky or Brian Kendrick. So both Bryans I was really taken by. I think they wrestled 3 times on that night. I think they wrestled a singles match, then I think they wrestled a tag match, and then there was some other stuff that they did. But really admired what they were doing, the fact that they were new to it, and it inspired me. You know, I was there to really kind of check out the show and possibly meet Shawn Michaels, which it did, but it was brief. But realizing that those guys were a few of his students, and so I was inspired. And ultimately, I didn't go to it. I went to a different school in Austin, and the rest is history. But you know, I kept up with Daniel throughout it. I kept up with most of the guys that came from Shawn Michaels, just to kind of see where they were going, you know, their career trajectory and whatnot. So I liked I liked a lot of his stuff in ROH, the stuff that I got to see. You know, I really one of the evolutions of his character that I liked was the bald-headed, bearded, all black, wearing the cloak. I really enjoyed that evolution of his character. I remember a video package that they had put together for him, kind of giving a career trajectory. Really enjoyed his work. I remember when we were doing IWE, meeting him, having a brief conversation with him. I know we were doing, my buddy Darius had held an autograph signing for ROH. We were kind of working with those guys. So I got to meet a lot of the ROH guys, but I got to sit down with Bryan for a couple of minutes. Nothing too long, just kind of talking about our travels and whatnot, some of the guys that we knew, some of the guys who were friends of ours in common, like Paul and a few others. Always admired his work, always admired his intensity. And, you know, so it was good. A little quick conversation, nothing too major. When he debuted with WWE on the NXT brand with being the rookie to Miz being his coach, I thought it was a really good pairing. You know, specifically because here's a guy in Daniel Bryan having all this experience on the indies, and here's a guy in Miz who's basically a product of the company, you know, WWE. Not to say that he didn't put in the work. I'm just saying that the pairing was pretty solid. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed what they did. You know, but it wasn't easy for Daniel, I don't think. You know, coming off a really great debut match against Chris Jericho. And almost picking up the win, and Jericho being the world champion at the time, and I rooted for Daniel. He was one of those guys that I really rooted for. I thought, man, he's going to win NXT, he's going to win that title shot, he's going to come back, maybe he's going to face Jericho. Wow, what a story coming out of it, whatnot. And then a couple weeks later, just kind of on an offhand remark saying that he didn't think he deserved to be part of the roster, he was let go, seemingly, or let go from that competition. And I was like, wow, but at the same time, you know, I understood from a company standpoint that if you do say you don't belong here, that they're gonna eliminate you, because you know you should say you belong there. But that was the kind of guy Daniel was, you know, truth to a fault. When he came back and you saw him with the Nexus and that Nexus introduction, which was a thing of beauty, I'd never seen anything quite like it. They literally tore up the WWE, and then that infamous image with him with the necktie on Justin Roberts and putting him in kind of a chokehold and then being fired. And I remember people around that time just saying, oh man, you know, what a shame, so on and so forth, I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. And I was of the thought process that he'll be back. I mean, you don't put that much money into somebody, invest in somebody and put somebody on TV just to let them go and whatnot. I figured it was just going to take a matter of time and that he would be back. But WWE kind of allowed him to to work the indies for a bit and work a few shots, and then he makes his return, I believe, at SummerSlam. And I was happy to see him back, happy to see him in a babyface role. I really enjoyed his work throughout. Remember him winning Money in the Bank. That infamous Money in the Bank where Punk wins the title, and in such a magical night for everyone. I thought, wow, that's awesome. Of course, you hear the naysayers that he's not going to be able to cash it in successfully and whatnot. But the fact that he got to cash it in, and then the beginning of kind of the yes chant, but not quite becoming world champion, oh my God, I still remember that picture of like him and Punk and Zack Ryder and Cody Rhodes and Beth Phoenix and Kofi and Matt Sydal or Evan Bourne, and just kind of like the new crop of champions, and the fact that he was part of that. I mean, I was a fan of all those people. And I was shocked as everyone when he lost in less than 18 seconds at WrestleMania. But I think that's what really started it. That's what really started people wanting to see this guy succeed more so than ever. The fact that he seemingly got screwed and whatnot. He basically wasn't paying attention, and Sheamus took advantage. So, but the yes stuff and the no stuff and Team Hell No, him and Kane, the hugging it out and the anger management stuff, it all worked. It all worked. And you fast forward a little bit, and you get to around that Royal Rumble. Well, prior to that, you get Daniel joining the Wyatts for a moment. And when he kind of turns on the Wyatts, and that reaction from that crowd was phenomenal. So yeah, when the fact that he was off the Rumble, I was shocked like everyone else. At the same time, I understood not if you were in a match, you weren't necessarily going to be in the Rumble. That changes from time to time. But I remember Rey Mysterio not getting the best reaction. I remember the crowd in Seattle, when they kind of hijacked the show, where they were just like, they wanted Daniel to succeed. And yet still, it wasn't getting his due. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. Like SummerSlam when he beat Cena, I was like amazed. Yeah, I was amazed at all that. When Punk left, I really didn't know what they were going to do with Daniel Bryan. I remember the rumors, it's going to be him and Sheamus again. I was like, oh man, this guy's getting the kind of reactions that he's getting. I mean, you should do something with him, more significance, hopefully. But again, you kind of understood where the company was coming from. But after that Rumble, and subsequently after that, the groundswell that it would just overtake. Like, no one really, organically got this kind of reaction. Just such a positive reaction. And the yes stuff, thing of genius. I couldn't, I would have never thought of just doing this stuff and saying yes, 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 and it getting over as well as it did. But it did, and rightfully so. And I'll never forget WrestleMania 30. I mean, imagine what that guy did. Did something that very few people do. Wrestled twice on that show. He beat Triple H and won at the beginning of the show, where it didn't seem like he was going to beat Triple H. After occupying Raw and all that, which was a great visual, and then going on to the main event, really didn't know if he had really a shot. At some point he didn't look like he was going to have a shot, and then he's victorious, and the images of him winning both belts, having both belts and hoisting them, and I was like everybody else, just amazed that they finally gave this guy a shot. And then as quickly as he had risen, not quickly, but as quickly as that had happened, And then he, got married and went on honeymoon, and then comes back, and his dad had passed, and I was shaken up for him. I mean, all this good karma came about, and then this bump in the road, and then the injury, and him having to be stripped of the title. And I know they did everything in their power to keep the title on him, and I thought originally the plan was him and Brock to kind of do what he did to Cena, but I don't know. I felt for that guy, to reach such great heights and to have it being taken away. And then his return for that Royal Rumble, and the outcry, the backlash from him getting eliminated almost seemingly, insignificantly, it felt like. And I understood where people were coming from with the backlash, and they want Roman Reigns, regardless if you got The Rock in his corner. They wanted Daniel Bryan. And then Daniel Bryan and Roman had that one match, and phenomenal match, one of Roman's best matches to date. And who better to put him over than Daniel? And Daniel giving him the rub, so to speak. And then Daniel going on to WrestleMania and winning the Intercontinental title, and the rumors of him just wanting to be on SmackDown and be kind of that lead dog there and be what the U.S. title would become, the U.S. Open Challenge. I think Daniel, that was originally going to be his plan. It was going to be John and Daniel doing, these open challenges simultaneously, possibly. And then I remember that last match that's been reshared since Daniel's announcement. The match against Sheamus and the headbutts and being busted open the hard way, seemingly. And then what I did notice was the seizure. I thought he was selling, kind of like Terry Funk style, the shaking and whatnot. Didn't realize that it was a legitimate thing. It was odd that he, lost by count out, but at the same time, the bull hammer and all that, you just thought, oh, it's going to be part of the story. And then everything leading up to the announcement. They're holding him back until WrestleMania. The fact that the doctors weren't going to clear him, the fact that he was fighting the doctors, that he was getting cleared elsewhere, the idea that he was going to go to other companies, that he didn't care if he was the WWE, just wanted to wrestle. And I'm a fan of his, so it just, whatever makes him happy. That was my hope, was that, he was going to get to do whatever made him happy. Wasn't really that concerned with if he was ever in the ring again. I do recall having that conversation with Trey on that Offshoots podcast episode that never got to air. But I remember Trey asking me, did I believe Daniel Bryan would ever wrestle again in WWE? And I said, no, I don't think so. I think given WWE being a publicly traded company and the fact that they are dealing with all these lawsuits revolving around concussions, and that concussions is a hotbed, hot topic of discussion, all the lawsuits and whatnot, that I didn't see WWE wanting to risk something happening to Daniel to where, what if, God forbid, something tragic happened in that ring. There have been instances with Daniel and a Stinger and them calling the match early, and again, not even without knowing about that seizure, but now that you knew about it. But I was like, I don't think so. I would hate for something like that to happen. What a black guy to the company would be if something bad did happen to Daniel, in the midst of a WWE program. So I didn't really know. I didn't think he'd be back in a WWE ring. I thought, maybe he'll get his release, or maybe he'll get it, finally be done with WWE to some way, like Rey Mysterio, and he'll move on and do something else. But when I saw the announcement on Twitter, I didn't think it was a work. I thought it was legitimate. And he was legitimately retiring. And I gotta say, I was okay. Like, from a fan perspective, I was sad that maybe I'd never get to see this guy perform again. But I was happy that, he's getting to walk away relatively healthy. I mean, he's going to have some stuff he's going to deal with for the rest of his life. But if he never gets in a ring again, hopefully, he can maintain his, his health. And I know I wanted to sit down and watch that announcement as it happened, much like Edge's, much like Shawn's. I don't think you're ever really truly prepared, even though it might be coming, even though Daniel gave you fair warning that he would elaborate on the retirement, but more than likely it was the retirement. But I still wasn't prepared. Now, luckily for him, he got to do kind of in a storybook way. If you're going to announce a retirement, you announce it in your hometown, so to speak. He got to share how he felt about it. And the message coming out of it was that he was grateful. I really admired the speech. It was heartfelt. It was real. It was truthful. I was emotional because he's one of the guys that I really enjoy watching. He made me believe that anything was possible, that a guy his size could beat the giants of this industry and do it his way. And although I really, between Daniel and Punk, I probably more saw myself in the eyes of like CM Punk, kind of that chip on your shoulder type of deal. I always admired kind of the Zen-like quality of a Daniel Bryan. I'm grateful that I got to watch him, that he succeeded, that he was able to do it the way that he wanted to do it in many ways, that he succeeded. I'll always remember the WrestleMania 30, the WrestleMania 31. I'll remember that WrestleMania, the 18 seconds. I'll remember the Yes Movement. Luckily with the network you can relive all of that stuff. The stuff where he turns on Bray. So yeah. I'm glad he's at peace. I hope he's at peace. I hope he's found peace. I hope that through this people become aware of the physicality and the physical toll that this industry can take on you. And in the weeks that have, in the days that have followed since the announcement, I've seen, friends of mine who are bookers, friends of mine who put on shows, friends of mine who are in this industry talk about the reality of it. The injuries that you do deal with and the risks that are taken and how maybe we can modify what we do to help with the longevity of people's careers. And that's been good. I'm from, for me, I have to be fully aware of, the physical toll this has taken on me in my 16 years of being in this. I'm aware of the damage that's been done, some of the damage that I can hopefully, repair in the months and weeks to come, but some of that damage that will never be repaired for whatever reason. I'm reminded of all the stuff that I have gone through, all the matches, all the travel, all the wear and tear. Probably every day that I wake up, I'm reminded in some form or fashion. And so yeah, anytime somebody kind of at their peak seemingly walks away, or anytime someone retires, or anytime we lose somebody in this business, it makes you think of your career mortality. I know it does for me. I know I've had to kind of soul search in the last couple of years with what's important to me from a performance standpoint, and but from a health standpoint. And I've made my decisions based on health and well-being over just performing and the love of this. So, and I know that I've had to struggle with it. And I've been in the shoes of having a doctor say, yeah, you may need to find a different line of work, to just internally, getting past that and kind of getting a clear bill of health, and then at the same time kind of going, okay, why continue to do it, or try to find a way to continue to do it. So my heart goes out to anyone that's in that position. I wish the very best for Daniel, but at the same time, like he said, he got to do this for 16 years. He got to enjoy it. He got to do it at the highest level for the last few years of his career. He got to make memories and moments that will be there for a lifetime. He found his wife due to the wrestling business. And he'll always have those moments. And the good thing for him is he can always go to the network, and if he ever wanted to relive it, he'll have the opportunity to relive it. So I'm saddened, but I'm at peace because he's at peace, and I'm happy for him that, hopefully once the transition period ends and he understands that he's no longer probably going to be an active performer, maybe he can take on a non-wrestling role. That would be great. I would look forward to seeing him in any capacity. I'd still love to pick his brain here and there, and so yeah, I think I'm happy for him. Happy he got to kind of, in spite of the circumstances, that he was able to go out the way he'd like to go out, and was able to announce it in front of family and friends and an audience that supports him to no end. So yeah, again, like everyone said, thank you, Bryan. Thank you, Daniel Bryan, for the years that you put in, for the amount of entertainment that you provided. I hope you have found true peace in all this, and know that you will truly not be forgotten. You're a legend in this business, and that should go without saying. And I, from a guy that's in this business, was a huge fan of yours, and we'll always look back at those times fondly and with a great big smile, because you did it, man. You were an inspiration to probably a whole lot of people that you'll probably never meet. So again, thank you, Daniel Bryan. Now, next week, actually, we'll probably pick up a little of the conversation series. I know that I got a buddy of mine, Gino, coming by my place, so we can have a sit down and talk all things life and wrestling. Cannot wait. And I'm going to be setting up some other ones. I had a little bit of a scheduling conflict with Bryan Keith, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks we can sit down and have a conversation, because I'd definitely like to catch up with him, as well as Ruthless Ride. I know we talked a little bit here, but Gino, that should be my next video, and it'll be we'll see how it goes. Appreciate everyone who took the time to watch this, and who supports my stuff, either watching or listening, subscribing. Feel free to subscribe to the Offshoots Network if you're listening to this in podcast form. If you're in video format and you're watching this, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and go check out the other videos that I put out. Getting close to 250. I cannot wait. But as I always like to say, stay cool, stay sexy, stay classy. Enjoy your Sunday fun day, or any day that you make your fun day. Just enjoy it. Enjoy this time, and enjoy the travels, and enjoy the moments, because nothing's ever guaranteed. And if you do all that, then you're already all that. Until the next time, later.